All right, welcome in. Good morning, everybody. And I don't know if you guys know, but there's baseball today. First day of spring training games starts today with a very interesting slate. Yankees and Orioles today from Sarasota. Trevor Rogers on the mound in that game. We got Nathan Eovaldi on the mound for Texas versus Kansas City from Surprise, Arizona today. Jamison Tyone on the mound versus Jonathan Cannon. White Sox and Cubs. Senzatella on the mound for the Rockies versus the Diamondbacks. Dane Dunning on the mound for the Mariners versus the Padres today. And Zebby Matthews on the mound for the Twins versus University of Minnesota. So this is interesting, this game right here. If you guys don't know about it, Northeastern Huskies versus the Red Sox. Now, I don't have any old video of this that I can pull up. I wish I could. But I pitched in this game twice as a member of Northeastern. Once my freshman year. This was something we look forward to, obviously, all year as college guys, playing against the big league team. So my freshman year, I got to pitch in relief. I remember I faced Jason Varitek, Bill Miller, Gabe Kapler, struck out Gabe Kapler, a bunch of other dudes. And then my junior year ended up starting the game. Got to face, David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, Coco Crisp, JD Drew, and some guys. So very, very cool for them to go have this little exhibition game versus the Red Sox today. And that's how the Red Sox always kick off their spring schedule. If you want to watch that and you're in the New England area, it's on NESN today, which is great. I am on Yes Network, Yankees Hot Stove, and I'll be talking a little bit about this Yankee game. I'm pretty sure we're going to see some of the prospects in this game. Elmer Rodriguez, I believe, is starting this game, which is very exciting. And I've been studying up on him a little bit. So excited to watch some baseball today. Should be fun. And we will see how it goes. This is the lineup it looks like the Yankees are traveling with today. Austin Wells, Caballero, Jazz, Ahmed Rosario, Ernesto Martinez, Marco Luciano, Duke Ellis, Kennedy Corona, and Ali Sanchez. So this is like the early part of spring where the main guys only play a few innings. And this should be great. Did I not switch it to baseball and coffee? Thought I did. But if not, I'll switch it later. Either way. It says baseball and coffee, right? I switched it, right? Yeah, see, I didn't switch it properly. Whoops. Yeah, but my title was wrong. Yeah, I didn't update that. How do I edit that? We'll not worry about it. We'll do it later. Sorry for that error. So, are they going to have WBC cards in the show 26? Because if so, I should have one. Get an old man Ottavino card. So that'd be pretty fun. Yeah, I see what I did. I don't know what I did. I thought I had switched this last night, but my brain was a little scrambled last night. Anyway, so we're doing the NL Central today. That's going to be our main focus this morning. It is a very exciting day. I mentioned that we have baseball today, which is very exciting. So we'll have some things to watch, I guess, starting on Monday. So this is great. Let me say good morning to a few people that are here in the chat. Good morning to my mom. Good morning to my dad. Good morning to Brian in Alberta. Buenos dias to Carlos. Good morning to Jared Williams and Nico. Victoria, good to see you. Good morning. Colton Park. Good morning. Buck Fang. Good morning. Good morning to the wife, who I was just with. ECU, as we know, the ECU Pirates, they're playing number 11 UNC this weekend. That's pretty fun down in the Carolinas. Yep, Elmer. And shout out a few more good mornings. Good morning to DK Ghost and everybody else. So let's get into our stuff today. Let me check the trade rumors, see if there's anything quick. we want to check out. Oof, right off the gate. We got an injury. We got an injury update. Jordan Westbrook diagnosed with partial UCL tear. Now, it was interesting yesterday. They didn't really mention what they wanted to do yet. They didn't give us all the information on this yet, but Westbrook down, not great. Looks like they're hoping to avoid the internal brace or Tommy John procedure. They don't want to miss him for the year, but it's very much up in the air right now. And the Orioles are dropping like flies early, which is not what you expect out of a young club. But if Westbrook goes man down, not a great place to be. They'll have to move some things around for sure. We already have the handmade situation with Jackson Holiday. And if Westbrook goes down too, that's two of their young studs. That will be gone, at least to begin the year. And then we'll see how long it takes them to get back. We're not doing AL East for a few more days, so I won't dive into that too much, but that sucks. Westbrook's a good player, so that stinks a little bit. What else we got here? Minor league deal signing season still going on. Royals grab Elias Diaz, former MVP of the All-Star game recently. Pretty good hitter. To probably be their backup for Salvi, although I'm sure he's going to have to compete for that. What other minor moves that we have here? I did see some good news on Bieber. Apparently Bieber's feeling good. For all of our Blue Jays fans out there, we were a little concerned about him. It looks like he's feeling good. He's going to start throwing off a mound in 2 weeks. So they're just slowing him down. They're slowing him down. He'll probably be back late April, early May. Would be my guess on the timeline. But at least he's not in serious injury trouble. That would be tough. Pat Murphy got extended, which is great for the Brewers. This is actually somebody we'll talk about today, as we have to decide what to make of the Brewers this year. And that's about it. So let's go get into it. National League Central is our group today that we want to run down. So first thing we need to do is we need to pull up our projections and see what the projection world has to say. All right, so NL Central projects the Cubs as our top team this year with a projected record of 85-77, according to Fangraphs. This is a very jumbled group. It looks like the Cardinals are projected to finish in last with 75 wins, and the Cubs at the top at 85 wins. That's a much tighter grouping than what we've seen in the first couple divisions we've looked at. Obviously, NL West, 97-67. That's a 30-game gap. And in the AL West, 88-74, which is a 14-game gap in the projection. So this one's bunched up a little bit more, and we'll start with the Cubbies since they are projected number one. We know about a lot of what they've gotten into this offseason. Bregman was the big move. Tucker out, Bregman in. And this is the projected lineup on via Roster Resource as we sit here today. Michael Busch, Alex Bregman, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, PCA, Nico Horner in a free agent year, Dansby, Moises Ballesteros, who's an interesting guy to watch. Another one of these very young catcher DH types, sort of similar to Samuel Basallo with the Orioles. Curious to watch how Moises does and if he really gets this much playing time or not, and if he's actually going to be the DH. Carson Kelly, who had a breakout year last year behind the dish, at least hitting-wise, bench-wise. Right now they're projected with Tyler Austin, Matt Shaw, Miguel Amaya, and Chas McCormick, former Astro. I did also neglect to mention this one, but we'll talk about it right now. Edward Cabrera was the big trade with the Marlins. Owen Casey going the other way. And that's what the rotation looks like, which is a lot better than before. Matt Boyd, who had a great year last year. The aforementioned Cabrera, Cade Horton, who I thought he had an inside shot at that Rookie of the Year. Wasn't able to really contribute in the postseason and gets beat out by Drake Baldwin. But Cade Horton, then Shota Imanago came back on the qualifying offer deal. And then J-Mo, who's actually pitching for Canada. So they got some adults in this rotation. They have some guys with some upside, guys on the way up in Cabrera and Horton. Boyd is probably on the way down, but he's also been pretty good. So That's the rotation. Bullpen, they signed Phil Maton to a 2-year deal. They brought in Hunter Harvey. Those two guys are kind of polar opposites. One guy throws really hard and is not that durable historically, and one guy throws not hard but is very durable historically and reliable. So they kind of split the difference there by signing them both. Caleb Thielbar comes back at age 39 to be the main lefty in this bullpen. They paired him with Hobie Milner, who they signed, who's going to throw from an interesting angle. Jacob Webb was solid last year for the Rangers, I believe. Assad, who was in the starting mix for them. And then Colin Ray. Those guys are kind of swing men. They can make some starts, cover some innings. A big piece that is returning this year is Mr. Justin Steele, who's probably the ace of this team when he's right, with his weird-ass fastball and slider combination and his Mississippi aggression down there. Trying to think who else they have here laying in the weeds. Kevin Alcantara, who had been up quite a bit. Ben Brown, who I think is a reliever at this point, if we're being honest. Jordan Wicks has not panned out the way that they've wanted. They got some other kind of random here NRIs. Jackson Wiggins is actually a guy I just looked at in my I just looked at it. Somebody sent me a video of him in my Discord and said, what do you think about this guy, Jackson Wiggins? Wiggins throws very hard. It's very clean delivery. But I guess I don't really have a whole lot of idea of what we're looking at in terms of how it's going to play yet. So I'd have to see that. A name down here that's familiar is Vince Velasquez, who's famous, in my opinion at least, for when he got hit with a line drive in the right arm, dropped the glove, picked it up with his left arm, and threw a dart to first. That was a sick play. Maybe I can find that play really quick on the internet for you guys because that was hilarious. Even though this really makes no sense. Vince Velasquez lefty throw. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this is hilarious. So we'll wait on the ad real quick, and then you guys can see this real quick. This is true athleticism. All right. Check this play out. Adam Eaton, laser off the arm. He says, you know what? I'm throwing this left-handed. That is so sick. You know how good you have to be and athletic you have to be to do this? And he's man down the whole time. So we're going to see a couple replays here. Where did he get nailed? In the right elbow or something here with this line drive?
Well, I think the adrenaline kicks in there and keeps the pain from bothering you with the play.
Come on, get me to the replay. Here it is. So here's the nailing, and then watch our guy right here. He says, I'm dropping, and I'm chucking. And then he goes down. Sick play, though. Just thought we'd take a quick detour to look at that. Porter Hodge has got a really good sweeper. Luke Little was a part of the bullpen last year, so they've developed some depth for sure. Jeff Brigham's in this group. Trent Thornton, who's been honestly in the big leagues quite a bit. They have a huge group of dudes that are going to compete to be backup bullpen guys. So let's look at this team overall, and what do we think? Last year they had a tremendous offense. Obviously, there's no more Tucker. Now you bring in Bregman. I'm not really sure what I feel about the long-term fit of Bregman with the Cubbies. I've talked a little bit about how, he's dead pull for his home run power. Actually, the fences jut out a little bit down the lines at Wrigley. That being said, he's played well when he's been there. He did homer there last year. I think maybe it compresses his home runs a little bit, but we're going to find out a lot about Bregman and who he is as a player this year, because this is the first time that he's not playing in either Houston with the Crawford boxes or Fenway with the Green Monster, which obviously plays big time into his pull side power. But I do think overall it strengthens their defense, signing this guy, and it definitely strengthens their clubhouse and their kind of wherewithal as a team. So you're kind of hiring a player coach here who's going to elevate the group. He's one of the more impressive guys I've ever been around. And let's see how that adds to their potential this year. I still love this lineup. Individually, each guy has some sort of something that they're working on. Hap swinging and missing less. PCA chasing less. Dansby needs to bounce back. Michael Bush was quietly great last year. So I like this team, at least offensively, and we'll kind of see. Now pitching, like I think they have enough pitching to be in every game, but I have to admit, they don't really have that one guy that can go out there and just take over the game and win the game for you. They got a lot of really good pitchers. I still believe in Imanaga despite the home run barrage at the end of last year. J-Mo's one of the more consistent guys at throwing strikes. I like Kate Horton's stuff a lot. And I love Cabrera, although we've talked about him a lot on the show. He's a bit of an interesting pitcher in that he basically pitches off his changeup, barely ever throws a fastball. We'll see what the Cubbies do with that. And then Matthew Boyd, who's like not overpowering, but kind of knows how to pitch. We saw the good and the bad of him. We saw the good and bad of him in the postseason. And then obviously in the bullpen, they have a mixture of hard throwers. They have a lot of variety in this bullpen. I still don't see that one guy that's the complete shutdown. We can't come back off of this guy type of pitcher. But Palencia really stepped up last year, throws the absolute crap out of the ball, and he's going to try to hang on to that closer's role as long as he can. So let me get into the chat here. Let's see what you guys are saying about the Cubbies here a little bit. Ooh, good morning. My name is Francisco Ramirez. I'm from Venezuela. Well, buenos dias. Welcome to the show. Thanks for hanging out. What else we got here? Not the best staff out there, to be honest. Who do I think will have a better year, Shota Imanaga or Senga? That's interesting. That's an interesting question. Let's go take a peek at Shota. So we know what it is with Senga. Senga's really hard to hit. He just got to get out of his own way. Actually, the early reports on Senga from this year out of Mets camp are very positive. And I've always said that in a lot of ways, he's the nastiest guy the Mets have. Now, that's changed a little bit since McLean's come around, but Senga's got great shit. So here's Shota Imanaga, which is just such a fascinating season. Somebody pointed this out in the chat earlier. Let me see here. Shota had a sub-1 whip last year. Uncle Ted, you're correct. So the numbers really are solid. But what kind of happened was he gave up a bazillion home runs in the second half. And this was when he first came to America from Japan. This was the concern. He lives off of a fastball at the top of the zone with elite rise. But the velocity, whereas at times it was 92, 93, is now averaging 90.8. So he's getting into that zone now where the fastball speed is starting to really affect the effectiveness of that pitch up in the zone. Like it's starting to have slightly diminished returns on it. And that played itself out a little bit last year in terms of his run value. Four-seam fastball, -10 run value. And for a guy who pitches off that fastball, that's not a good thing. Man, it seems like everybody's very concerned about the title. We just recently found out that I effed that up, but I'll fix it afterwards. It's fine. So I personally think Shota's got some of the best execution rates in MLB. He's got a really good feel for that split. Even the sweeper has really come along. That's a pitch that wasn't very effective or really even a big part of his game when he came to MLB. But he did get shelled at the end of the year. What it comes down to is, can he keep them in the ballpark? And here's the thing. You see the slugging percentage on his four-seam last year, 567. So it's not a batting average thing because there's a lot of flyouts. But he's got to keep the ball in the ballpark better, and that's kind of what determines his success. He's not somebody who's out there who's going to beat himself, but you have to be a little concerned with the fastball and how all of a sudden guys are kind of on it and the velocity trending downward. And it makes me wonder a little bit about how this year's going to go for Mr. Imanaga. So here are his percentile rankings from the two seasons we've seen him in MLB. Fastballs declined a little bit, although it was never really anything to begin with. A lot of his other metrics stayed good in terms of, inducing swings out of the zone. You see the chase percentage still 84th percentile, but that whiff and that strikeout percentage, and to me, that's the real key. Can guys nick it at the top of the zone and stay in at bats? Or are they able to Or is he able to get the swing and miss? Last year, that really dropped off towards the end of the season. That defined his season. I think he's a really good pitcher, and I expect him to cover a lot of innings. But again, how the fastball plays will determine his ceiling, because he doesn't get any ground ball percentage. So there's a big difference between just getting above the barrel and a guy hitting it hard, but it's at too high of a launch angle to get it out, or being able to actually connect on the right angle, keep it at like 25 degrees and hit home runs. So to answer your original question, I think Shota has a much higher floor than Senga, because Senga can be a little bit of a self-sabotager on the mound, Mr. Kodai, but at the same time, he's harder to hit. So I'm going to project Kodai to have the better year this year, because I think he's got to come in with a different mindset there this year for the Metros. He's got to come in. He's got to throw first pitch strikes and get himself to his ghost fork. And there's no doubt his stuff's still there. Even with a wonky year last year, 3.02 kind of illustrates how hard he is to hit. Now you see the difference in approach. 1.31 whip versus the the below 1 whip that Shota Imanaga has. Kind of shows you that one guy is a master of command and the other guy is sort of a master of stuff. So they're very different pitchers despite being countrymen. This is one thing that bothered me a lot watching Senga last year. It's just his first pitch strike rate is not high enough. 55.4, league average is 61. With the strikeout stuff he has to get into count leverage. So anyway, I'm going to predict Senga to be a little better, but that doesn't mean I'm poo-pooing Imanaga either. So thanks for that question. That was a fun little a little dive in there. Shota can adjust. He pitches smart like Maddox-ish. Extreme comparison, I know. So what you're saying there is he has really good execution rates, and he does. And he does. But again, the stuff is not great. Let's actually take a quick check at Fangraphs Stuff Plus on Shota. So what does Eno got him at? Has him as a 94 Stuff Plus. Only pitch above league average would be the fastball still, and a lot of that's the incredible amount of carry and lift he gets on it. The sinker that he just developed, it doesn't like it, but I like that he has it in his arsenal. Slider has come back to earth to 100, probably a velocity thing, and doesn't like his split, but I think he executes it really well. I mean, his location plus is tremendous. 108 location plus. That's one of the better in the big leagues. But you can see the stuff. They're not a fan of the stuff of Imanaga, and I think that the eye test kind of shows that as well. So I'm not gonna do my full rankings until I really parse through all these teams. But this team's either gonna finish in first in this division or second in this division. I don't think they have much of a chance of dropping further. I think they have by far the best offense in this division, and that's going to carry them pretty well. And they've built in some pretty good depth here. And I think they have a high floor as a team. Maybe not the highest ceiling in the world, but I think they have a pretty high floor. All right, what else we got in here in the chat? I did see this, Evan. Thanks for this comment. Yankees just hired a guy who was with the Cubs that was kind of like an international signing scout in Japan. And Yankees are trying to get back in the Far East market, which makes all the sense in the world. So that was an interesting move for the Yankees. Michael Busch is so good, and that's a good point. A lot of people sleep on Michael Busch. In fact, I think Michael Busch had a decent chance to sneak his way onto that USA WBC team with the type of season he put up last year. I mean, check out these numbers. And this is a big reason why their offense was so good last year. Michael Busch was awesome. 34 pumps, 866 OPS. And kind of carrying the torch for guys with below average bat speed to still hit home runs. Look at that. 16th percentile bat speed, yet he's hitting home runs even opposite field. That's a pretty hard trick to manage. Here's one off of Roki. You don't see a lot of guys do that. Something tells me that he gets elite carry through the ball and backspin to carry it out to left field, because most of the time, guys that have that low of a bat speed don't produce that type of power. Granted, none of these are moonshots or anything, but the fact that he can go pole to pole with his power with below average bat speed is pretty amazing. Michael Busch needs more aura. He's just the type of guy who goes out and does his job, doesn't get too much recognition. We love those types of guys in baseball. They're called ball players. They go out there, they play the game, they help you win. They go to sleep, they wake up the next day, they do it again. They're not huge me guys. And that usually plays pretty well within the clubhouse as well. They'll let their teammates celebrate them, but they're not going to put that out themselves. Anyway, this was great for the Cubs that this guy broke out. And if you can stay this player, they have an elite first baseman on their hands. About league average defensively, so that doesn't really matter. But he is an important cog over there at first because he's got to pick a lot of balls. They have a tremendous, maybe the best infield defense in baseball with Bregman. Here's Bragg. Tremendous defender, +3, outs above average. Dansby, who, for my money, is, man, up there in terms of the most consistent shortstops I've ever seen. I put him in that Brandon Crawford category. 4 outs above average, tremendous defender. He needs his luck to turn around a little bit. I actually think his approach at the plate was solid last year. You see a lot of these metrics are fine. Surprising he has as much whiff as he does, but for him to put up a 717 OPS is weird when he had an xWOBA of 345. So maybe his luck will turn around a little bit. And then Nico, well, between him and Jazz, they're probably going to be the top 2 free agents coming in next season outside of the guys that opt out. He's also a ridiculously good fielder. Look at that. 98th percentile outs above average, 15 outs above average. So they have the best infield defense, probably the best overall defense in the big leagues. When you think about PCA and center, and then this group of guys in the infield, that's pretty ridiculous. And when Shota's on the mound, he's incredible as well, defensively. So their game is built on defense, throwing strikes on the mound, which is what they do really well, playing tremendous defense behind those pitchers with the balls in play. Wrigley has played a little more pitcher friendly the last few years, and then offensively, they have the best offense in this division. So I'm tempted to already just say I'm probably gonna project them to finish first. This was the standings last year. Brewers beat them out by 5 games, as we know. They had a ridiculous winning streak in the middle there and kind of put this one to bed. But the Cubs were a 92-win team last year, and I expect them to be around the same this year. Honestly, I think they're very, very good. They did lose Keller as well, which was a big loss, and Kyle Tucker. But again, they brought in some dudes. So who are my picks to click and my pick to take a step back? Good question. Well, I think my pick to take a step back is probably Matthew Boyd, just because I think he's a good pitcher, but to expect him to be the ace of the staff is, I think, a little bit unfair. He doesn't really have that type of stuff. And I like Matthew Boyd a lot. He put up a 1.09 last year, and since he's come back off his latest surgery, he's been quite good. He's been right around an even 3 ERA, and he really knows how to pitch. But I would argue that if his velocity declines anymore, I mean, right now he's at 93.2. I think that could decline a little bit further. He could be in a little bit of contact. He could run into a contact issue, and he could be a little more nibbly, and that could bring that walk rate up. He's already striking out less than league average batters, and he doesn't create above average amount of whiff. So as good as he is, it's a big pitchability type of situation, and I just expect him to, not be a bad pitcher, but maybe not be the ace that they're expecting. That would be my guess. What else we got in here? Bush is a leadoff first baseman. How rare is that? Pretty rare. Pretty rare. You see it occasionally with guys who are great on base percentage guys, but pretty rare overall. Yep, Swanson Gold Glove. And I've told you he's tremendous about that. He's tremendous out there. I did see this for my Yankees people out there. Jazz talking 50-50 this year. For me, I'd rather you be about it and not talk about it, but some people, they don't go about it that way, and I'd rather you be cocky than timid. So we'll go that way. All right, now we need a pick to click. Uncle Ted's saying Edward Cabrera. I do think Cabrera will be quite good, but I'm not going to pick him just because it's his first year with the new organization. I don't know exactly what they're going to attempt to do with him. So my pick to click on this team to exceed expectations, I actually think I'm gonna retread a little bit on Dansby. You know, people have kind of soured on Dansby a little bit. They feel like he's really not that good of a hitter, but I don't know. I've seen him take DeGrom's fastball in the outside corner out to right center. He competes in the box. He's got a great plan. And again, I think he was just a little bit unlucky last year, and that needs to turn around a little bit. Only a 300 on base percentage is not really where this guy should be at. He should be at least into the 320s, 330s. Granted, he swings a little too much, but a lot of the numbers are still good. I mean, he's still barreling the ball, hitting the ball hard. He walks enough. It's not like it's super bottom of the barrel. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Dansby to bounce back this year and kind of exceed expectations. I feel like the expectations are a little bit tempered on Dansby right now. Let's take a look at what a home run looks like from Dansby. This was his first home run of last season off of Erod. By the team that drafted him, the Diamondbacks, and then traded him straight to the Braves, his hometown team, which was interesting. But always been a big fan of him. Yeah, a couple of you guys are agreeing with me. Show me, don't tell me, Jazz. But again, I'd rather have you cocky and confident than not confident. I don't like I just think it's silly in baseball to throw statistic goals out there, because that kind of takes away from your ability to just play the process and go one day at a time. And ultimately, that's what this game requires, right? So that's the Cubs. I like the Cubs a lot. And Ballesteros is somebody that I'm intrigued about. Let me look at the Cubs prospects for a second. So Ballesteros, who I mentioned, is the number one. Jackson Wiggins, who I mentioned a little bit, he's trying to make a name for himself. Throws very hard. He's upper 90s. I just have to see it play a little bit, so it's hard for me to have a judgment on it. I like Ethan Conrad a lot, but he's young. This guy's out of Wake. This guy can rake. Marist College, and then Wake Forest after that. He's been very good. We've seen a little bit of this guy, Kevin Alcantara. Jefferson Rojas, 20-year-old. moving up the line, but kind of blocked right now. Next year might be his year. This is the guy who's penciled in. He's a big boy, not tall, but strong, which in a way kind of works to his advantage. They got to fit those strikes into a smaller package, and then he packs a thump. 60 hitting, 50 power, 30 running, 50 arm, 40 fielding. So he's basically a DH already, which is a little bit concerning. But if he rakes, that'll be huge for this club. Statistically, let's see here. Before he got up to the big leagues last year, he was hitting 316, 385, 473 in Iowa for an 858 OPS. And if you look at his minor league career, he's pretty much been over 800 the whole time. Does a very good job of limiting his strikeouts while also taking walks. And I think he's going to be a big part of this lineup. It's a shame that he can't really do it behind the plate at a very high level, but even in the big leagues, I mean, in only 20 games and 57 at-bats, I mean, he rocked a 394 on-base percentage. So there's a couple of rookies in this year's class that are going to be up there in the big leagues, kind of laying in the weeds in the bottom of the order, that have big-time ability to change their lineup for the better. Bryce Eldridge with the Giants, Samuel Basayo with the Orioles, and certainly this guy, Moises Ballesteros, with the Cubbies. They're all kind of positionless guys, left-handed hitters that pack a punch and have dominated the minors and are very young. This is going to be their first extended look through the big leagues, so we'll see how that goes. We'll keep an eye on all three of those guys this year, and we'll see whether they are the X factor that we want them to be, or whether they're the X factor that we don't want them to be. Another one being mentioned here is Carter Jensen by Uncle Ted. Good call from the Royals, who actually under the hood looks incredible. So curious to see. Also, I agree with this. The listing of the weight is probably incorrect, but we'll see. Anyway, so that's my Cubbies. That's my little look at the Cubbies. Who is our next team in terms of projected standings? And to my great surprise, it's the Yinzers, the guys from Pittsburgh, 82 and 80. The Pirates projected to finish second by Fangraphs in this division. This has been the most active team in this division this offseason. And I've talked a lot about the Pirates on this show, and I feel like a lot of what I said, I'll reiterate. I think this is a crucial year for them. They're stretching a little bit financially. Skeens is about to go to ARB after this year. So his trade value, well, while it will always be high, starts to trend down after this year because there's less years of control. I think that I think that um, this is a big leap that they're being projected. They had 71 and 91 last year. But again, I think that they have to take a hard look in the mirror if these moves don't work out this year. They really only committed to this year. The only 2-year deal they gave out was Ryan O'Hearn, but everybody else they brought in, whether it's Bilal, or Ozuna, those guys are all on 1-year deals. So to me, this is a 1 year. We're going for it, and we're kind of see where we're at. The big X factor with this team, of course, is Connor Griffin, the number 1 prospect in baseball, who looks incredible and probably going to be hard to keep him off this roster. And he really elevates the ceiling. I mean, I know it's a lot to ask out of a kid so young, but he is that special. So what are the other moves they made? They brought in Bilal. They brought in Ryan O'Hearn, Marcelo Zuna. They brought in the password. They traded for Mangum as well, who's like a very contacty, useful outfielder from the Rays. Urquidy was somebody that they signed for the back end of this very potent young rotation, of course, led by Paul Skeens. Then in the bullpen, they brought in Gregory Soto, hard-throwing lefty. And the bullpen's kind of a no-name group, but a lot of stuff is there. Mason Montgomery, especially, is a guy who actually struggled a lot with the Rays last year, but throws the crap out of the ball. Jared Jones should be back pretty soon from his internal brace. So that will inject a little more electricity into the rotation. And when looking at the Pirates, it starts with the rotation. Skeens, Keller, Ashcraft, Chandler. It's just so much upside there. It'll be interesting to see if how Chandler really looks. The thing that I liked a lot about him is that he threw strikes last year. I don't know if I believe in the fastball or the breaking ball as much as the industry does, and I'm curious to watch that play out, but certainly there's upside there. Keller's kind of now, it's crazy to see that he has 6 years of service time and he's the old dog on this team, but he's solid. We'll see how he does. I think Jones makes a big difference. And then Skeens, it's like, can he do any better than he's already been doing? It seems like it's almost impossible. Back-to-back sub-2 ERAs. But you can't put anything past this guy. He's been that incredible in his career. The question is, will this lineup put up runs? Last year, they didn't have a single qualified player over 100 OPS plus. They were literally one of the bottom 3 or 4 offenses in the big leagues. And, I've seen some blaming of their close games and their competition, and some blaming of a potentially broken humidor. But overall, they didn't get the job done last year, and they're looking to flip that this year, and that's why they made the moves they made. I think they're giving up some defense. Brandon Lau's a butcher at second, but he hits. So they knew they needed offense, and they're willing to take some risks in that way. O'Hearn and Ozuna obviously are not much of a defenders either, although I think O'Hearn might be decent when he plays first. Right now they have him penciled in at right. I can't imagine that would be very good. I think Ozuna dropping into their lap might have been the piece that really does allow them to compete this year. We noted how he was hurt last year, and that really torpedoed his hitting ability and his numbers, but I think he's awesome. I think he's still a really good hitter, and there's a good chance he could be the aircraft carrier in the middle of this lineup this year, Marcell Ozuna. And I feel like a lot of teams kind of missed out on that, that were in the mid-market. So let me get in the chat here for a second and see what you guys are talking about. So the Pirates typically do draw fans when they're good. I've been in a rocking Pirates ballpark, but if you're a Pirates fan, I mean, how can you possibly support the team when they were putting the product on the field they were the last few years? I'm not a big Gregory Soto fan as well. Personally, I mean, he's got good stuff, but hasn't really translated much since Detroit. Uncle Ted, Mitch Keller is a dog. Bubba Chandler, another guy who talks the talk, said he's going to take the opening day starting job from Skeens. I mean, okay, we'll see. I remember when Brent Honeywell was this guy talking the talk. Didn't back that one up. So we'll see. Axe Crash is also filthy. That's true. Ooh, would I have signed with the Pirates last year if they had this improved roster? Yeah, I probably would have been more into it. They have some momentum now. They didn't have any momentum last year, so they have momentum now. So maybe, perhaps. I think that's possible. With Ozuna, I think it's really true that there's no such thing as a bad one-year deal. I talked about Marcel, a couple weeks ago. He had a stretch there where he was hurt and he really just stopped swinging. But he is not far removed from being one of the very better hitters in the game. Look at that. 904 OPS, 924 OPS the previous 2 years. Last year, 755. And he started off great last year, and then he got hurt. And he just kind of stopped swinging. I feel like he was just trying to protect himself a little bit. But I think he gets back over 800 OPS this year. I mean, he's really fixed his approach since he was with the Braves. And he's become a better hitter. If he's healthy, obviously that's a big if. I think things turn around a little bit, and it was kind of demonstrated a little bit in some of the metrics here. There's a couple key metrics that we looked at last time. First was this very odd first pitch swinging trend. So he only swung at 18.3% of first pitch swings. He only swung at the first pitch 18.3% of the time last year. League average is 30%, and for his career he's at 32. So just shows that he completely just abandoned his approach. He stopped hunting those first pitches. And to me, that's where a lot of his damage was kind of given, kind of left on the table. And overall swing percentage down 7% over where he's been every other year of his career. So to me, that tells me he couldn't really let it eat consistently at the plate. But I think it was an injury thing. I really do. In a lot of ways, he still made himself somewhat valuable because of the walks, 98th percentile walk. But if he's healthy, the combination of a better batting eye and him getting back to his full ability to hit the ball hard, I think fireworks could happen for the Pirates. So I think this was kind of a savvy signing. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of Ozuna. He's been through some stuff off the field, of course. I don't know him personally. It's interesting because when we had Colin McHugh on the show, he talked actually pretty highly about Marcel's character, especially within the clubhouse with the other Latin guys and stuff like that. So being that I don't have any actual insight on that, I'm just going to let it go since I don't really know. Jack Sawinski got DFA'd. He was solid for a couple years and fell off a cliff. And, he couldn't hit lefties, and he was a bum. Not a bum, but he was a busted defender. So yeah, Sawinski had a little bit of a run there. Never really got it going. I don't know if I value the Pirates this high. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting that they're projected this high. Who do we have as picks to click and picks to take a step back on the Pirates? So what is going to happen with O'Neal Cruz? O'Neal Cruz is kind of a huge X factor for this team. Let's talk about him for a second. Let's take a quick peek at the issues with O'Neal Cruz. I mean, it's pretty unbelievably sad that he only put up a 676 OPS last year. He had to move to the outfield. A lot of times looks very disinterested out there. But in terms of raw physical ability, he's at the very top of the scale in the big leagues. 100th percentile arm strength, 93rd percentile sprint speed, 100th percentile bat speed. So it comes down to putting the dang ball in play and avoiding all this whiff and K. He's got a long swing. He's easy to pitch to in a lot of ways. It's funny because I think sometimes he's a little too passive in the early count as well. I have to go check those numbers, but 48 percentile chase, that's not that bad for a guy with that power potential. I don't even mind that. It's just more so he's got to hit the ball in the zone a little bit better, right? That's the biggest thing with O'Neal. Hit the ball in the zone. Yeah, so his overall swing percentage 41.6% last year, MLB 47.3. So he's a little too passive. I feel like a lot of that comes from him looking for pitches that teams are just not going to give him. But man, he needs this batting to turn around. And I'm not necessarily that optimistic when you see his whole career, his whiff percentage and K percentage has been absolute bottom of the barrel. He has been a little better in the outfield defensively, so he's providing a little more value now that he's been out there. But he's a true mystery, O'Neal Cruz. Can they get him going? Because that would elevate them a lot. I'm skeptical, but he's got every little bit of physical ability, if he gets it right, to do some special shit. Let's see this home run to center. I mean, that's about the worst pitch you could ever throw him. Middle speed pitch right down the middle. And he hits that ball where not many people hit it. So, crazy. 97 mile an hour infield throw, 105 mile an hour outfield throw, exit velo 123. He's done some special stuff. But again, just because you have those readings and those metrics doesn't make you an effective baseball player. Ellie De La Cruz is in a similar boat. Those two guys will always be kind of attached at the hip, both Lycée guys, and just freaks of nature that need to put it together a little bit better than they have. Not fair to assess, but his body language shows low confidence, eyes down, lethargic even, though he has spurts of being exciting, needs to slow down his mind. I totally agree. I mean, I do watch him, and sometimes I wonder if he wants to be out there. Not that I know personally, but it's fair to speculate at least a little bit. And, I'd like to see him take the bull by the horns a little bit. So he's a big factor. He's an easy pick to exceed expectations because expectations all of a sudden are very low with him. But I don't know. So my pick to exceed expectations for this club could be Horowitz. He's a pretty solid player that has been kind of just trying to get his feet under him a little bit. But I also really like Triolo. Tempted to pick Triolo, but the real elephant in the room that we haven't really talked about much is Connor Griffin. He's not even listed here, but he's the number one prospect in baseball. And if he comes, then Nick Gonzalez is out of there at short. So I'm going to pick Connor Griffin, even though he's not on here. I do think, obviously, he's going to get called up at some point. You just go to the top 100 in baseball, and he's sitting right there. And he gets some scouting grades that you just don't see a lot of in baseball. Overall, 65 grade from MLB. That's ridiculously high. 55 hits, 60 power, 70 runs, 70 arms, 60 field. People have asked me a lot recently who I would rather have in certain young player comparisons. So one of the more recent ones was, Roman Anthony versus Connor Griffin. And actually, I'm in the Connor Griffin camp, and that's crazy because how much I love Roman. But I do think Connor Griffin has a chance to be a legit MVP and honestly pretty fast. He's incredible. I love his swing. It's so short and dialed. He doesn't really need to adjust that at all. It's just really just about, figuring out the pitchers he's going to face and making day-to-day adjustments and figuring out how to stay on point. So I'm picking him, even though he's not even listed in their depth chart yet. And to take a step back, I'm going to go with the other big prospect, Bubba Chandler. So Bubba Chandler, look, a lot of people are super, super high on this guy. He's got the swagger. He did finish with gusto last year. His last few starts, he did a good job. He threw 31 in the third innings in the big leagues with a .93 WHIP as a rookie, which is tremendous. It's just that when I watch him, he feels like he doesn't have his full arsenal figured out yet. Fastball, changeup are good pitches. I'm not a fan of the slider. I know that the stuff metrics are pretty good on it, but when I watched it play, I wasn't necessarily in love with it. So let's watch it. I think a lot of people are expecting this guy to immediately be like one of the better starters in this division, and I don't necessarily agree. And I know that I'm probably in the minority with that, but let's just see how it plays out. Very curious to watch Big Bubba pitch. All right, what else we got here? I see Dragon Boss is asking me about the Marlins. Check back with me when we go over the NL East in a week or so. I like the Marlins. Still think they're in a little bit of a tough spot in that division, though. Probably the fourth best team, unless the Braves pitching staff really falls apart again. Cruz not a natural leader. Most likely excel when he isn't the main guy. I do think Ozuna will help Cruz. Generally a veteran mentor really helps a lot. So if he can do that, that would be great. I know Bubba had that one giant blow up game and then was great after that. And the big thing that he does a really good job of is throw strikes. I mean, he only had a 3.2% walk rate last year in the big leagues, which, I mean, that's tremendous. That's tremendous. But let's just see. I need to watch it play out a little bit. He didn't immediately come up and scream pitchability to me, and that always gets exposed over time in the big leagues. You might have a great initial run until teams get used to you, but it always gets exposed a little bit. So I want to watch his pitchability. I think he might be a little more control over command, and we'll just have to watch. It's just my early read on it. Let's see. And if this was true, I would have grew a stash for my whole career period. So we'll see. Pirates were confident enough in their pitching to trade Burrows and Oviedo. Yeah, well, they really needed hitting, so they get the password for Oviedo. Burrows trade kind of leads to Brandon Lau come in. And again, they were willing to mortgage that because this year's so important. Ben Sherrington's on the last year of his deal as GM. And I talked about the Skeens elephant in the room already. So we'll see. Here's a question from non-generian. Chandler, McLean, or Savage? I'm a McLean guy. I think McLean's the best of this group. And I would put Savage over Chandler as well right now. Certainly Savage is more proven. But they're all very good. They're all definite prospects. So we'll see. How's the arm feeling after the recent session? This was my best one I had. I threw about 30 pitches off the mound yesterday, mixed in fastballs and sweepers. That's pretty much all you're going to see if I pitch and if I get in a game in WBC is a couple different fastball shapes and some sweepers. I'm not going to even mess with my changeup probably. Maybe I'll break one out to Judge if I face him. But yeah, we're trending. I think it was in the low 80s and the pain level was reduced. So now we'll kind of ramp up from there. Ooh, excuse me. I'll throw a bullpen every other day, another one tomorrow, and we'll head on into Arizona and do the best I can with it. But, definitely encouraged. I do think I'll make it to the finish line, which is exciting. All right, so that's the Pirates. Done with them now. They're projected to finish in second. Not sure how I feel about that yet. Next team to look at in our NL Central is going to be the Brew Crew. They ran away with the division last year with an incredible second half. Projected to finish 500 this year. I have to admit, I'm a little biased against the Brewers in a lot of ways. They've always just rubbed me the wrong way. They're an annoying club. They're very Rays-ish. They do a great job. I think Pat Murphy is one of the best managers in the game and Counsell before him. So I don't want to ever doubt them. But I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop with the Brewers for a while. They've had a chokehold on this division, and it's kind of crazy because, again, they're good, but, on paper, they're not that great. So we love Chourio. We love Chourio. Terang was outstanding last year. He's got the platinum glove to show for it. He's playing on USA. He's an interesting player. Contreras is a really good player. Yelich was great until he got hurt again. It's going to be interesting to watch him at this point in his career. Now listed as a DH. How will that body continue to age? We'll see. Andrew Vaughn went off with them after the trade. Is that real? Is that a mirage? We'll find out. Felix, an interesting player, very, very dynamic player in a lot of ways. Rengifo, they're taking a little bit of a gamble on him. He's going to be a third. Gary Mitchell, who's been hurt a ton, but has tons of upside. So we'll see. And then Joey Ortiz, who's right now at shortstop, could easily move to third if Jet Williams were to impact this team at shortstop. One thing that's interesting about this team and why I'm kind of down on them now is they continue to trade their best players and try to regroup. And at some point, that's going to fall through for a year. So Freddie Peralta goes to the Metros, and they get back Brandon Sproat, who I'm not as high on as a lot of other guys are. I think he'd be okay. I just think his ceiling's a little capped due to his low spin and low whiff rate type of profile. I think he might be a decent contact manager and might find a way to be durable. but I don't see dominance necessarily coming out of Sproat. Anyway, this is the rotation right now. Woodruff, who came back off long shoulder surgery last year, was mostly healthy last year and pitched really well when he was healthy, but his stuff had taken a step back. In fact, let's take a quick look at what Stuff Plus has to say. Yeah, and you can see it. So maybe this will turn around and be a little better in 2026, but he used to be a decidedly above average stuff guy, and now he's at 96 Stuff Plus. Basically saying his sinker's fallen off a cliff, as has the curveball and the changeup. So Eno's kind of down on him. And I think this guy really knows how to pitch. I made one of my first watching videos was watching him come back off surgery, and I was very impressed. But he's getting $22 million this year. He has to take on the mantle of the ace role, and especially with Peralta being gone, I'm just not sure he's quite that guy. I'd rather him be my number 3 starter on a team with big expectations. So then the Miz is the number 2 starter. The Miz is the guy with insane ceiling. We all know about it. The biggest key is just keeping this guy in the strike zone and keeping him on the field. Everything else will take care of itself if he does that. He was the only guy in the Dodger-Brewers series for the Brewers that showed anything on the mound. He's the only reason why they had any chance in any of the games. He came in kind of in a piggyback role, and he's just that electric. So he's going to be fantastic to watch. I like his enthusiasm on the mound. He's a little bit of a geek, and I love that. So let's watch it. Priester, who was tremendous for them last year, in terms of just throwing his cutter, sinker thing after getting traded over from the Red Sox. They're not going to project him very well because, again, look at the Stuff Plus, 98 Stuff Plus. He's basically pitched just to contact for the majority of the time. Not to say that's always a bad thing, but I mean, there's no way he's going to put up a 13-3, 3.32 ERA that he did last year. I think that would be asking a lot. So we'll see. I like Quinn a lot, but it's an interesting mix without a true fastball anymore. On the four-seam side, it's basically cutter, sinker. So, he did it with a 32 percentile K rate, below average whiff rate, below average chase rate. It's just a really high ground ball rate, which is nice in that ballpark. Pretty good place to hit. But I don't know. The overall amount of dominance in his game is not really there, so he's relying a little bit on batted ball luck. And let's see how he responds to his largest workload in the big leagues yet. I still like Quinn, but again, I think you can see how there's a little bit of a question mark in with this rotation in a couple different ways. Chad Patrick, a guy with pretty good stuff. But again, 125 days of service time, so we'll see. Logan Henderson, big upside. We'll see. This is what they do. They rely on the young guys, and that's why it's so important that they have such a good infrastructure with management and a guy like Pat Murphy who's going to drive this ship really well and create great vibes all the time. I think Pat Murphy and what the organization does is kind of the secret weapon of this team and why you can't ever expect them to stink. Do I expect them to be better than the Cubs? No, but there's no way they're going to drop off really that far. And we'll have to watch it play out. Now, one thing that they are very good at is bullpen, is having great bullpens. They've always had great bullpens, even when they're no name. Uribe, filthy. McGill, filthy. Have to keep both of those guys healthy because those are the top 2 guys. Koenig, filthy. Ashby, filthy. Zerpa, who they got from the Royals. Love that. Filthy. Also, look at all the lefties they have projected right here. DL Hall, who they originally got in that Corbin Burns trade from the Orioles. Rob Z's like a swingman. Grant Anderson's been kind of up and down. He's a little bit of a sidearm piece. And there's some other guys I'm forgetting here. They have some more here. These are the other starters. Kyle Harrison and Drohan, who they just got from the Red Sox in that Durbin trade, are 2 wild cards, both lefties. So again, they kind of fill their rotation with a lot of depth situation. And then in the bullpen, Craig Yoho is famous for a crazy, really slow changeup. So I'll be curious to watch him. He's only got 42 days of service. They brought back old friend Strzelecki, who was there, who's kind of a sweeper guy. JB Bukowskis, we haven't seen in a while. So we'll see. I mean, again, the Brewers, they do Brewer stuff. You got to expect them to always be in it because they're a really hard team to play against. And on the high end, Chorio is one of the best young players in the game. That being said, I don't think they're better than the Cubs this year. I think this is the year the Cubs win the division. I think the Brewers are duking it out with the Pirates and the Reds for whoever's in second place. So, okay, picks to click. Did I already do picks to click on this team? No. Picks to click. Picks to exceed expectations. I guess it's probably Choreo. I think this could be the year he takes the leap. He's only 22 years old. I'm a big believer in him. I've seen it up close. Why am I clicking a V when I'm trying to click a C? Here he is, Jackson Choreo. And he did have a little bit of an interesting year. 771 OPS, 21 home runs, 21 steals. I think this guy's going to start living in the mid to upper 800 OPSs pretty soon. Yeah, Sal Frelick had a higher WAR last year than Choreo. But this guy's so tooled up, and he's got a nice, efficient swing. And he kind of finished last year slowly. But I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to come back this year and kind of take the leap. Good defender, tons of sprint speed, more than enough bat speed despite having kind of a short swing. I'm expecting a lot out of Jackson. He needs to take the leap if they're going to be competitive this year. He was a ghost last season. Yeah, not a guy that attracted a lot of attention last year, that's for sure. As for steps back, who's going to take the old step back this year? I hate to put it on Woodruff. I just feel like the stuff has lessened a little bit. And, he really hasn't been healthy hardly at all lately, and it's shoulder related, and that's always more concerning to me. Just knowing, even what I've been going through the last month with shoulders are hard to overcome. As good as Woodruff has been, and he's been tremendously consistent since he's been in there, I do worry a little bit if he's the same guy or not now, if the arm's working the same. And if he won't, he's projected right now to be the ace. They need him to be the ace. I think he might be a little bit lower than that. And so not that I think he won't be great, but I think that it's a little hard to expect much when he's missed so much time, and the stuff definitely wasn't the same last year in terms of the velo. So let's see if he takes a step back or not. That would be my pick for now. Just looking at it from a distance. Should have spent the $22 million from QO on some offense. Too much of a risk. I was shocked they offered it. I was too, and honestly, he would have been the exact type of guy in the Gallen situation. Had he rejected the QO, I think his market would have got pretty quiet pretty fast, given the injury history, and then obviously the QO bogs you down if you have any strikes against you in free agency. And so with the durability questions, he would have been in trouble. So I think he did the right thing by accepting it. I think the Brewers, that was a little bit of a gamble, and maybe they were happy either way. But I think that kind of led to Peralta having to be traded. So we'll see. What else we got? Their bats beat them last year, I believe. Couldn't string together much offense end of the year. Yeah, they were putrid at the very end of the year. Oh, they came in. That's so great.
Do you like it?
Yeah, they look great. Should we show them off? Yeah, we'll show them off real quick. So now we're gonna start putting this stuff up on the site. We got a little crew neck sweatshirt, baseball coffee with the coffee cup logo in the back. We have the green with the hoodie. These grays are crew necks. So this is great.
Right? It's cute.
They look great. Very soft. Very
soft.
comfortable. Yeah.
Show them the inside.
Very comfortable, soft. So
I like it.
get yours soon once we throw them up there on the site.
Look nice with the green baseball and coffee hat.
With the cap or the hat, yeah.
Yeah, but that's sold out.
Yeah, that's all sold out pretty much.
Sold out.
Yeah. No, not right now.
Never mind, it's fine.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, Dan sees fire. Got to get that bodega cup, right? Brewers literally traded all their third baseman away to give Andrew Fisher the runway. So, okay, let's take a look at the Brewers prospects, because if you're a Brewers prospect and you're highly rated, odds are you're going to be on the team pretty soon, because they are a very young squad. It reminds me a lot of when I was a Rocky, and that was kind of the way it was. Andrew Fisher, their number 8 prospect, only made it to high A last year. So in this day and age, you can move pretty quick. Duke and Mississippi guy, 50 hits, 60 power. That's pretty impressive. Power's great in that ballpark too. 40 run, 55 arm, 45 fielding, 50 overall. What were the stats last year? 311, 402 on base, which is really impressive. So, yeah, if he gets off to a hot start in AA or AAA this year, he could move quick. Uncle Ted is all about this guy, saying Andrew Fisher is this year's Kurtz. I mean, that's a high bar to clear. Kurtz had 1,000 OPS last year. But, okay. Interesting, though. He didn't play much. This is probably just after the draft, huh? Only one home run, but yeah, the numbers are solid in the small sample, so we'll watch him. They do have this guy coming too, who I don't know if he'll get up this year, but this guy's supposed to be a superstar. Super duper star. Jesus Mate. Projected with a 60 future value. He's a 60 hit, 60 power, 55 runs, 60 field. That's an all-around beast. And in AA last year, in 115 games, 285, 379. So Mate will probably make his way up this year. This guy is awesome, Jesus Mate. So very excited for him. Jet Williams just came over from the Mets. This is the guy, if I'm a Met fan, I'm worried about losing more than Sproat. You watch Jet play. He's got a great swing. He's got a lot going for him. There's a chance he could be a dude, like a real dude. So to me, this was the big get for the Brewers in that trade. And I'm curious to watch how that plays out. Pena's another guy on the rise as well. But Mate at AA, being 18 years old, putting up those numbers is crazy. Crazy, 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 crazy. Let's watch him hit a double in Biloxi while we wait for the ad to go by. Probably less than 50% chance he makes it up this year, but they add Jet Williams. I think Jet Williams is going to get up. Oh, and Fisher's going to be on Team Paisan. All right, well, I'll get to know him a little bit. So we'll have some info. All right, I got lost for a second. I got to back this up. So here is Mr. Mate. I mean, hitting line drive, Oppo home runs from a short frame, that's special. A lot of people have compared this guy to a Lindor, kind of. So I'm very intrigued. I mean, you don't see Oppo power like that too often out of a small package. What is his height? 6'1", 187. So, I mean, about fine for a shortstop. Actually, a little bigger than I realized. But, yeah, I think he's going to be exciting. All right, Brewers. Did I pick my picks yet? I think I just picked. Didn't I just pick somebody to click? No. Oh, yeah, I picked Woodruff to take a step back. Now, to take the step forward, hard to pick anybody but my guy, Mizorowski. I think Mizorowski might go off this year. He's too nasty. I think I picked Chourio. I did pick Chourio, but let's also take a second just to look at the Miz. Because the Miz is, I know that at times they were able to kind of stand there against him, 11% walks last year. That's really your only defense against this guy because he throws absurdly hard to the point where it's an outlier in MLB, and that's not normal. You're pumping on average 99.3. You can get up to 104. He's throwing a curveball in the upper 80s. His slider's in the mid 90s. Changeup's a good pitch. Like stuff-wise, he's a joke. Absolute joke. Let's see what the stuff has to say on Stuff Plus about the Miz. Yeah, it has him at a 119 Stuff Plus. 121 on that fastball, 118 on that slider, 127 on the curveball. Only an 80 on the changeup, but it's actually not bad. I don't like the lefties. I don't like cutters. I'd have to see what his cutter looks like. Now, he'd have a chance to have a good one because he might throw at 97. So there's a possibility with that. I hate to say it, but no way his arm stays healthy, right? Well, you wouldn't think so long term, but at the same time, we have no way of knowing that. Sometimes guys can do it, better than we expect. So I'm not going to put that on him. But yeah, certainly when you're as loosey-goosey Gumby as the Miz is, let's watch one of each of his pitch types. There's always that risk that something will give. There's that 101 on the fastball. Here is his slider. It's going to be a foul ball to Brett Beatty. I mean, that's middle, but even his slow sliders are 92, which is insane. Here's a curveball. 87 on the banger. And then even the changeup, which for my money, like, this is a great pitch for him because everybody's got to be so geared on the fastball. That was a really nice rep right there. So we'll see. Anyway, we'll see. Only problem is their own worst enemies. Playing hard and reckless might be good for you. The highlight tapes where they are bad for your career longevity. They're talking about Fisher here. We'll see. You got to play with your hair on fire to some extent when you're a young guy. That's kind of your advantage, you know? No, the 94 changeup was Cabrera. He's now on the Cubs. Cutter is a perfect bridge for the four-seam and curve. You know what? I'm just telling you right now, unless you have above average velocity on your cutter, command of your cutter, or shape on your cutter, they all suck. That's my thesis. So lucky for him, he'll have above average speed on his cutter, and maybe it could be a thing. Like if you look at his pitch movement chart, if the cutter is right above those sliders, those yellow sliders, you know, if it's a little bit above that, above 12 vert, then yeah, we'll be rolling. But I just don't know because we haven't seen one yet. So that'll be fascinating to see what they add with him. But you got to be careful throwing on too many new pitches too quickly with him because he's coming through with such violence that you know, any type of new groove that's not grooved yet, new pitch that's not grooved yet, physically could lead to some injuries as well. So we'll see. And his slide, it's a slider. I agree with this, Ted. His slider's already more like a cutter than a slider to some extent. So he would need to have a lot of lift to separate that. So we'll see. You can never count out the Brewers, but I mean, I've been waiting for them to drop off for a while, so I'm still going to definitely say that I think they're not as good as the Cubs, right? In my mind. All right. So that leaves us with two teams to go, the Reds and the Cardinals. The Reds actually projected here at 78 and 84. So that's a full 3 wins below the Brewers and 4 below the Pirates. I think they're going to also be in this mix in the middle. And in a lot of ways, I do like what they've done overall. The Cincinnati Redlegs, they have a much better starting staff than most teams out there, and it's got high upside as well. Anyway, let's get into the lineup because the lineup a couple years ago, you know, Votto's last year there, they seemed to be really on the upswing offensively, and it seemed like right around now they were going to have an absolute juggernaut of young great hitters. That hasn't really come to pass. McLean has fallen back to some extent. Marte never took the leap. Noelvi Marte. De La Cruz has been underwhelming as well. But there's still no denying they have a lot of potential with this group. You start with Ellie De La Cruz, who is similar to O'Neal Cruz in that he's toolsy, and we're like potential MVP if he can get his approach right, but he's still pretty far away from that. I love the kid Sal Stewart who came up, who can definitely hit. He's going to make an impact. And then they did bring back Eugenio Suarez, who, you know, had a hard time finding a home this year. Could have went to a lot of clubs. He hit 49 home runs last year. That's insane. And he had a 49 home run season with the Reds as well. So be curious to see how he plays this year. They do bring a veteran into this very youthful offense, and that should help. But they're awfully right-handed through the bottom of this order. Suarez, Stewart, Stevenson, McLean, and Hayes, who hasn't hit in a couple years. So be curious to watch them offensively. They've been so underwhelming that really, if they could just be league average on offense, this might be a postseason team. But it remains to be seen if they can pull that off. Now, I mean, these are some other names that have been a little underwhelming as well. Steer and Benson, which are two guys that were at times shown well, but no type of consistency there. All right, so what do I like about this team? I love the starting rotation. Hunter Green is on the short list of guys who, if Skeens were to not win the Cy Young, Hunter Green could be right there, along with Yamamoto and a couple others to grab that spot. I think he's tremendous. He's gotten better as he's gone. He does seem to throw extremely max effort all the time, but he's already been through one injury, and that's kind of who he is. But I'm just going to say, while he's out there, he's electric. Abbott, kind of similar to David Peterson in a lot of ways, albeit more of a fly ball profile in that, you know, relies on weak contact, very good at managing innings and um, going deep into games, but is not necessarily as dominant as he was in the minor leagues. He was incredible in the minor leagues at getting guys to chase, but he's still very, very good number 2. Brady Singer is the quintessential innings eater at this point, has never really progressed never really progressed past his sinker slider combo. He basically X's the glove side corner the whole time. When he locates it, it's fine. When he doesn't, it's danger time. Lodolo, to me, could easily be the number 2 in this rotation. Crossbody, nasty, hard to hit, huge upside, has been hurt quite a bit, but I love Lodolo. And then Chase Burns. Chase Burns got converted to the bullpen at the end of the year last year to try to help push him into the postseason, which they did, but he's a starter. And if you look at his stuff and what he put up last year, from a strikeout perspective, I mean, how could you not be excited about Chase Burns? 67 punchouts and only 43 and a third last year. 4.57 ERA, not ideal. So, the run prevention wasn't there, but it's all in front of him. He's just got to walk a few less guys and figure out his contact game a little bit. Right now, he goes out there hunting punch-outs. He needs to find a little better way to get into count leverage, whereas if they do hit the ball, they're not hitting it as hard. You see the hard hit percentage, 45% last year, not ideal, and the ground ball percentage being low, not ideal in Great American Small Park either. Nevertheless, I'm very high on Chase Burns. He's got good shit, and I think he's just getting his feet wet in the big leagues. Plus, with that flat mound they have down there in Cincy, his fastball should play really well at the top of the zone. The pitch I love that he throws is the slider. He's got an unbelievable slider for my money. It's a late lane changer with a lot of velo behind it, and to me, it's a tremendous pitch. And now he's been working on this changeup too, which at times was pretty good. I mean, that's pretty nice right there. So we'll see how he continues to expand his arsenal, what he does in terms of early pitches to create weak contact in his pursuit to get to 2 strikes. And I think that's important for any starter. Otherwise, he is going to end up in the bullpen pretty fast. But it's crazy. I mean, he is essentially 90% four-seamer slider. So as good as he is, you can guess with this guy, and you're probably going to be right a lot. And that's the one thing he has to figure out. If he can figure out how to reduce that four-seam percentage, the four-seam will start to play better. I also think maybe his contact numbers will improve if he has more of a diverse mix. He can stay off the barrel a little better. But how could you not be excited about that Reds rotation? As for the bullpen, they did some things. They brought back Pagan. Pierce Johnson, who is a guy who I think is very good, will be important. Caleb Ferguson. And it's an interesting group. A lot of stuff. They got righties, lefties. Ashcraft, since moving to the bullpen, has been a weapon. He throws up to about 100 with cut. So I like it. I don't love Pagan being the closer. There's better closers out there, but he's a good pitcher. Santillan's a good pitcher too. I do think this is the weakness of this club. I mean, maybe the lineup too, but I think this is more middle of the road bullpen wise than top end, and that could be their undoing a little bit in the pursuit for second place in this division. But I'm just so high on their starters. All right, what else we got here? Nathaniel Lowe is in camp. He might get in there. I could see that. Encarnacion Strand, who was literally their first baseman for a while. I mean, wow, even Togley is here. So they've brought in a whole bunch of potential first base options to help boost the offense. Rhett Lauder is a pitcher I'm very high on. I don't know what happened to him last year. Did he get hurt last year? Yeah, he didn't pitch hardly at all last year. This guy's a tremendous pitchability guy, Rhett Lauder. If you remember, he pitched in a very famous College World Series game, head-to-head versus Skeens. And he showed very well when he was at Wake. He's not a huge velocity guy, but a really good pitchability guy, so I'm excited to watch him contribute. So they have even some depth on the mound as well. Something to be excited about for the Reds as well. I can't put them above, comfortably above the Pirates anymore, and I can't put them comfortably above the Brewers anymore because the Brewers have so much more, recent results to kind of influence us that they're still going to be pretty solid. But this is a more interesting team than they've run out there the last 2 years. The rotation will carry them, and the big questions are offensively, can they get into the top 10 hitting teams? In terms of runs scored, that would go a long way. I'm skeptical. I think Suarez is too pitchable despite being a home run hitter. I think they're too right-handed. And De La Cruz is probably the biggest wild card. We know what he's capable of, but hasn't quite hit that mark yet. So let's look at Ellie for a sec. Burns not going to the bullpen anytime soon. Showed his arm's durability the past 4 years, and walks have always been under control. No, I don't think he is either, but his pitch mix has to expand a little bit, in my opinion. See, this is what Brian's saying. Burns has the highest ceiling, but I could see them moving him to the pen with his cheese and the... Yeah, I mean, it's so tempting. I think he's the type of guy that'll start all year, and then later in the year, if they need to put him out there, he has such a huge high upside. Brandon Williamson is another guy I should have mentioned. Lefty coming back off injury. Pretty good prospect as well. So they have some depth. They have some depth options in the rotation. But to me, I think they have a tremendous pitching staff. This is more of the question. What's going to happen with a guy like Ellie De La Cruz? So 776 OPS. Manageable. It's fine. But there's so much more in the tank with this guy. So let's get into the metrics a little bit. 9th percentile whiff, 20th percentile K. He's got the same issue as all these other guys that have the speed-power combo. He needs to put more balls in play. He also needs to find a way to do big-time damage on the mistakes. It's good to see that he walks a little bit, but we have to watch him refine his game a little bit. Now, when we faced him a couple years ago, our scouting report was, he's giving you free strikes all day with off-speed pitches. So that was kind of how we would back him into a corner and get ahead of him. But if he could sit soft a little bit early in the count, I think that there's a world in which he could really find some opportunity to be dangerous up there early in the count and blitz some people that think they're going to flip some burgers in there early. So if I was him, I'd be thinking about that a little bit approach-wise. Anyway, you see the tools. 84th percentile bat speed, 93rd percentile arm strength, 91st percentile sprint speed. And really, it's probably higher than that because he's probably dogged it a little bit. He's an absolute problem on the bases. He can be a little reckless and give some outs away, but I've seen him on base where it's just ridiculous. Like, he comes in and he completely changes the game. So it's a weapon. It's a weapon, and he's the big wild card for this club. All right, so who are my picks here? Pick to take a step back is Eugenio Suarez. I like Gino. Good player, great guy by all accounts. But yeah, 49 home runs creates quite a bit of expectation. Can't possibly expect him to duplicate that again. For a guy who's been like a good player, but like, is he a winning player? Hard to say. So I'm picking Gino to take a step back. And in terms of taking the step forward, I think I'm going to pick Sal Stewart. Sal Stewart's a rookie, but he showed quite well in his small sample size. One thing I love about this guy is the way he competes. He's their #1 prospect. Came up with Manny Machado kind of mentoring him. But yeah, I mean, he hit the ground running last year. 255 average. 293 on base. Those aren't great, but 545 slug, 838 OPS in his 55 at-bats. If he figures out how to control the zone a little bit better, we might have a really good hitter on our hands here. 22 years old, dominated AAA, has a good swing, goes to all parts of the ballpark. I'm a fan of Sal. I think he's a good player. Here's him off of that Grant Anderson. And yeah, I think this guy might be one of their better hitters. I think... I expect him to leap immediately into being a pretty big force offensively in this league. So excited for Sal Stewart. Here's a couple of home runs to dead center. One off Jonah. Sorry, Mets fans. Mullins couldn't do anything right. But look at the enthusiasm this dude plays with. I love it when a young guy comes up and he's just having a blast being in the big leagues. That's the best. And for good measure, here's a pull side. Oh, get out of town, dog. So this kid can hit. So I'm excited to see it. That's my thoughts on the Reds. I can't put them necessarily. I still think they might be the fourth team in this division, but you can see the upside with that rotation. All right, here we go. Burns has talked about playing with a change curveball. His ceiling is right up there with Hunter Green. I agree. It's right up there with Hunter Green. 100%. We just have to watch. We just have to watch it. I'm huge on Chase Burns. Ellie should move closer to the pitcher in the box and hit the spin before the break. He's catching all the break in the ball being so far back. So this is an intriguing idea, but, it also leaves you exposed a little bit with fastballs, giving yourself a little bit less time. I would love to see guys who move around in the box. Now, a lot of hitters won't do it. They like to be anchored in one spot in the box so they feel like they know the zone. But I think it's a pretty good idea to sometimes move in, move out. Move onto the plate, move off the plate, move up in the box, move back in the box. Create a little bit of confusion. Set yourself up to get the ball at a little bit of a different angle. To your point here, Uncle Ted. Pete Rose talked about it when I was in a slump. He had 6 ways of getting out of a slump, right? Move up in the box, back in the box, on the plate, off the plate, choke up, or choke up even more. Like, he had a whole bunch of different ideas. Rather than doing anything mental, just what are some adjustments I can make to create my experience in the box a little bit differently. So I like the idea. Cool Handle says, I think 75 to 80 wins, to be honest. I feel like they're right around 500 team. Really, all of these teams in the middle, Brewers, Pirates, Reds, it could go either way. But I think it's plus or minus a few games above 500 or below 500 for all of them. So it's a little, we're just going to have to watch it. It's hard to project it right away. Oh, here's what happened to Rhett Lauder. Oblique injury while recovering from forearm. Okay. Does Key Bryan finally get back to 650 OPS? He's a 3 to 4 WAR player if he does. So Key Bryan Hayes is a guy who is a tremendous defender. He won the Gold Glove last year, I believe, or recently. Was with the Pirates. There's been some scuttlebutt about him having his own hitting coach, but really the hitting's been so bad. 573 OPS in 24. Last year in 570 plate appearances, 596 OPS. I felt like this is a guess hitter who has a hard time guessing correctly. It's interesting because some of his numbers on the bottom here aren't so bad. Like, he doesn't swing and miss that much. His walks are bad, but not that bad. His chase is not that bad. He just doesn't pack a punch. Very slow bat speed. And ultimately just doesn't get the job done at the plate. I feel like there's a little bit, maybe too much movement in his swing, to be honest. He's very passive first pitch. And again, I think there's a lot of opportunity first pitch. If you're going to let it eat, that's kind of the position to do it, is that first pitch. But, you go ahead and you look at him as a player overall, and it's all defensive value at this point. He's definitely up there with one of the better players in the game defensively. What's the Josh channel saying here? I think Key Bryan is the best defender in baseball at any position. Wow. Watching him his whole career, he just makes everything look easy. He's incredible on the field. He just has a bad back. A bad back's no good. What else we got here? Key Bryan Hayes, spring wish list is something Pirates fans fell into every year. The back has an expiration date, it seems, and it sucks. I really like the player. Yeah, I don't know the details on his injury stuff, but you can kind of see it playing out here a little bit. Sprint speed has kind of declined from when he was young, and right now all he's trying to do now is control the zone. He doesn't have it in him to really swing hard anymore. Bat speed has fell off. He's never really been a very, look at the hard hit percentage falling off and the exit velo falling off. So if he could get his backs fixed, it would be big, but I guess he can't get it fixed because it would end his career. What does he need, like spinal fusion? So there's a lot of maintenance that goes into this. And unfortunately with baseball, you don't get a lot of time off. You got a damn game every day, right? It's crazy. Lodolo is great. I think Lodolo's awesome. Let's just keep him on the field. So I don't know. I did my picks, right? Yeah, South Stewart, etc. So that's kind of it about talking about the Reds. I think what can we say about them? They'll be in the mix, but I can't say I'm that excited outside of the rotation. I think their lineup has a lot to prove. And the bullpen's more okay. Nothing crazy. And this team, I love Tito, but this team really hasn't gotten to where we thought they were going to get to a few years ago when they seemed like the most exciting up-and-coming team. at one moment, like when Ellie first came up and McLean was raking and a couple other people. Oh, we say Francone. I say Francona, but anyway. All right, on to our last team in the division is the Cardinals. They've traded away everybody. This was my first team. Still have some love for them deep down. I'm friends with everybody on the coaching staff, from Ollie to Scalzo to Jay, etc. I love Heimblum. And I think they're going to be great in the future. They're going to get back to their winning ways. But this is a very, very young team. Not that there's not some potential in it. Ivan Herrera, Burleson's a good hitter. Gorman's in a put-up or shut-up situation. Mason Wynn, tremendous defender. Can he hit? I don't know. Weatherholt, I think, has got the early edge in the gambling markets for Rookie of the Year. He's going to be a very good all-around player. Jordan Walker needs to get it together. He's been really bad, despite his size and potential. Pages and Victor Scott. Victor Scott, obviously a good defender. On the mound, I mean, they stripped away everybody on the mound, too. Sonny's gone. So Liberatore and Dustin May is kind of an interesting project. Palante, we know what he is. It's a weird cutting, sinking fastball thing. Not a huge whiff rate, strikeout rate, but kind of serviceable in that he's weird. I liked McGreevy when I saw him last year. Hopefully he gets a little bit more run this year. And Leahy's got good stuff. So they have stuff, but this is going to be a full developmental year for the Cardinals. That's why you have to project them in last place. But not to say if I was a Cardinal fan, I wouldn't be excited to watch this club. I'd be excited to watch this club because there's going to be 4 or 5 guys on this roster that become guys for the Cardinals down the line to then maybe build around. Weatherholt being the most notable one. Here's the bullpen. They did sign my guy Stanek, but other than that, they're kind of running back with what they had at the end of the year. Look for Jojo Romero, if he pitches well, to get moved at some point as he's coming up on free agency. Riley O'Brien's got good stuff. He's going to be a very young closer type for this team. But there's not a whole lot to say about the Cardinals. They traded away Contreras, Gray, Arenado, Donovan. Nootbaar could be next if he starts off well this year. So expectations are low. They've accumulated a ton of pitching depth. Guys that are going to come in and get some innings this year. Richard Fitz. Let me go look at who else is on that list. Tink Hentz, Hunter Dobbins, Quinn Matthews, Gerangelo Sinjay, who they got from the Mariners, who's a very fascinating switch pitcher we've talked about quite a bit. Yeah, so they brought in some guys, and we'll have to wait and see what that all equates to. But I believe in Heim big time. I think this is a great thing that the Cardinals are doing, and I'm not about tanking, but I think retooling, reimagining the organization makes sense for them at this point. And that's kind of where they're at. I think they're pretty much guaranteed to come in last, though, this year. All right, who is my pick to click this year? Weatherholt already has pretty high expectations, so I'm not going to pick him. I'm not going to pick Jordan Walker because I haven't seen too many adjustments made yet. I don't know, man. We might get to see Liam Doyle as well this year out of Tennessee. He's going to throw, just a very aggressive lefty guy. I was tempted to pick Mason Wynn, Dan. I was definitely tempted to pick Mason. I think he's so good at short. Hitting could turn around a little bit. That would be interesting. But anyway, here's some of the prospects that they've recently gotten into their system. Gerangelo, Brandon Clark, who I guess is going to be out for a while with like a blood clot or something in his arm. Ty Pete they just got. There's a few other, but they've injected some more pitching guys into the mix. I think Hunter Dobbins might pop for them. He's got really good stuff this year. Man, I still don't know who I'm going to pick, though. I really think Burleson can hit, but I think the expectations are properly set. Quinn Matthews is supposed to be the next guy. We're waiting on him with bated breath as well. All right, I'll pick Mason Wynn. We can pick Mason Wynn to exceed expectations. All he's really got to do is hit a little bit better. His defense is really good, and he did it while being hurt last year. 99th percentile, outs above average. I even made a whole video just watching him field balls. He's unbelievable at coming in on balls. He's got a bazooka cannon, and he's so good on his first step charging balls. But he took a huge step back last year offensively. 673, only 9 homers. Doesn't really pack much of a punch at the plate. Doesn't have much bat speed. You know, he's come into being one of these contact guys, but he needs to find a way to be a little more selective in that his walk rate's not really there and just hit the ball a little bit harder. But I'm not asking for much. If he can get the on-base percentage up to like 330 and that gets the OPS back over 700, he's a really good player overall because of how good the defense is. So that's going to be my pick, and we'll see. They don't really have a lot to pick from. It's a little slim pickings. And in terms of like to be disappointing, I guess you got to pick Newt. And I love Newt, but he's just always hurt. You know, Nootbaar has been hurt so often. Nootbaar had surgery on both heels. Sounds like Nootbaar is already starting off the season hurt again. Probably the only reason he wasn't traded. Such a good player. He controls the zone really well. He doesn't chase. That's his carrying skill. He's got some power, but hasn't really translated yet into actual home runs. So it's just the fact that we're expecting him to, you know, do his breakout thing. But being that he's been hurt a lot, I don't think that you can really expect it anymore. Here's his deal is the chase rate. 87% chase rate, 73% whiff rate. That's his carrying skills. They're really good. He does have a good hard hit percentage and bat speed, highlighting his power potential. But look at the home run totals the last 3 years, 14, 12, 13. That's a little underwhelming, and I expect it to be more of the same this year because he's just kind of hurt, and he also has no protection in the lineup whatsoever. Now, he did clip me for a home run once, and he is a great dude. Really good guy. But yeah, I mean, it's just tough if you can't stay on the field. And so I think a lot of people are looking at him as like the veteran guy on this squad, and it's a little worrisome that he had double heel surgery. That's a very weird thing to have. So I'm going to pick Newt, despite really liking him a lot. You know, we'll see. What's Nootbaar's air pulled rate? Let's see. It should be right here. Not good enough. Below league average. And that's the thing. He needs to pull the ball more in the air. That's where his juice plays. So, I mean, a big part of, though, probably laying off pitches and having his good eye at the plate is seeing the ball a little too deep to go ahead and get those balls out front and hook them. So maybe he takes some more chances and some counts. What's his first pitch swinging rate here? Yeah, way below average, 21.6. And for his career, it's under 20%. So he's 10% below league average in terms of first pitch swing. You got to take more chances. I think, honestly, the best guys understand that there are certain times where you get so low, pitchers are just going to lob some shit in there, and that's the pitch you got to attack. So if I were him, I'd be looking to take more chances early. You know, pull some balls, and then, you know, don't be afraid of 2 strikes. You're so good already at fighting things off and competing. I wouldn't mind that. Where were they projected? They were projected pretty low, right? 75 and 87. Not as low as a lot of the other last place teams, but I think they will be ultimately the last place, and it's probably by design, but it won't be long. They're going to be back pretty quick. I really think that. Heim's very smart, and, you know, they have some things to work with. They have some building blocks for sure with some good prospects coming up. Quinn Matthews being the very interesting one. He came in last year with a ton of hype, and he pitched pretty solid in Memphis. PCL is no joke, guys. It's just way too many walks. You can't have 74 walks in 94 innings. That's scary. What does it say here in the bio? 45 command. It's just the command has to bounce back. If the command bounces back, he's gross. Because 2 years ago, he was the second minor league pitcher with 200 strikeouts in a single year since 2011. So the upside's really there. Costas would be a nice Cardinal. I agree. He would be great Cardinal. But you know what's funny is even though he's kind of finding an uphill battle with the Red Sox, the Red Sox know how valuable he is. I think Costas could be big time if he just gets playing time and can stay on the field. So we'll see. This is Nootbaar. He had been rehabbing on an altered gravity treadmill in Cali, and the training camp facilities don't have one. The Yankees have one. I've seen Giancarlo running on it all the time. It sucks that he can't play for Japan. He was awesome in the WBC the last time around. He was a really fun guy out there running around for Team Japan. This Mason win. It's true. It's true. This is the big thing. They're not going to get any innings out of the rotation, so that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough to watch, so we'll see. What else we got here? Victor Scott is a great / elite defender, also in center. Yeah, he is. He's been unbelievable in terms of going to get balls, but just can't hit. 601 OPS, 502 the year before. Yeah, tremendous outfielder. 99th percentile, outs above average, which is crazy. Ugh. See if I can watch some of that. Usually one of these will pull up because, of course, sometimes it's annoying. But yeah, here we go. So let's check out some of his 5 stars.
Pretty sure he has on the foil too. Line drive towards center. Victor on the run. Coming on.
Tremendous first step. Covers the gaps really well. Nice play right there. Doesn't hurt that he works with my guy John Jay out there, who was a great defender himself in center field. Very prepared guy. So he gets that knowledge into him, plus his incredible athleticism. Really good, obviously, at attacking the ball. He attacks the ball really well on defense. Just saw this one. Let's see what this one is. So, pretty nice luxury to have a guy who covers both gaps with such ease. And it's true, without Rafael or PCA, he might be getting big-time props out there. So, good call on that. All BABIP and no pull air rate in Scott. This is for Quinn Matthews. Command was a lot better in college, I'm pretty sure. A lot probably thinks it's a blip. I mean, that's a crazy long year, though, for it to be a blip. You can obviously improve your command. We've seen it. I did it. A lot of people do it. But 74 walks in 90 innings is crazy. Crazy. Tomorrow there will be the ABS calls of the day clips. Wow. Love that. All right. So that's a little bit of our talk about the Cardinals. We did our picks. This is how it rolled last year. My official predictions this year is Cubs in first. I'm going to say Brewers in second. I'm going to say Pirates take the leap to third. I think they get close. They don't quite make it. I'm skeptical still. And then I would say the Reds are going to be right there behind them. And then the Cardinals finishing fourth. This will be a jumbled group, so anything could happen. But I'm not going to bury the Brewers yet. They have too much. We have too much evidence that they can find a way to win no matter what. So they're going to be interesting to watch. But I give the nod to the Cubs. I think the Cubs are the best team. I agree with the projections. And I think the Cubs are going to win the NL Central. So that's been our NL Central preview, guys. And probably going to wrap up the show here in a minute. I have to jump on a call at 12. So I'll answer a few questions in the chat, and then we'll move on. And we'll get ready for Monday and more actual baseball here, which starts in an hour and 15 minutes. There'll be a couple games, which is pretty awesome. Finland winning 2 over Canada in second period. That's very surprising. How different are the college balls? Very different. They have high seams. They're easier to grip generally. Leather's a little different quality. MLB balls are different. You don't have as much of a seam to anchor to, so it's a little harder to grab them. But overall, The MLB balls tend to dart a little bit more on fastballs, so there's a lot of difference. You got to get used to all of it. But once you're in pro ball and you get to double A and you're using or double A or triple A, whatever it is, using the big league balls, you kind of settle in with those. College balls are crazy though. I used to just like lay my middle finger like on that seam, and it was so big, it just felt so easy to command it. So that's a good question there. Hagen Smith wasn't as bad, but I saw a weird jump and walk rate last year. He's the White Sox lefty prospect out of Arkansas. He's going to be exciting. Japanese balls come pre-tacked, don't they? Also a different size. They're slightly smaller, slightly tackier out of the wrapper. They don't use any rub on them. That's why you'll see Japanese guys were never sticky guys. They're just a little bit of rosin, and then they're used to their ball. But that's an adjustment for guys coming over, especially splitter guys, which a lot of Japanese guys are. It's just an adjustment. You get a new implement, you got to figure it out. Do I think the Cardinals having a bunch of top catcher prospects helped their pitching development? Not necessarily. I don't think you really learn the pitch calling game or any of your. I mean, you learn a lot of your skills in the minor leagues, but like, it's different in the big leagues. I've mentioned a lot. The big league game is played pitch to pitch. It's liquid analytics. Like the analytics are constantly moving in real time in the big leagues, at least if you want to be on the cutting edge, if you want to be one of the best guys. And that takes time to learn as a young catcher. I think that learning curve can be tough. However, they have Yadier Molina now as an advisor to the team. He's going to be working with these guys, and he's the GOAT back there. So that being said, he could be able to turn some young bodies into some veteran minds pretty quickly, and I think that would be intriguing for sure. They're both a little tacky, Uncle Ted, but the NPB are dead. They're both a little tacky, though. KBO ball is one of the best balls I've ever felt. Just the way it feels is tremendous. Why don't minors and MLB use the same balls? It's probably a cost thing. The MLB balls are more expensive. So, they use them now in AAA and I think maybe AA. But for the longest time, they didn't. And for a while, I hated that as a player. It's like, now I'm going to get to the highest level and you're switching the ball on me. It's like, this is bullshit because now I have to adjust to something while I'm already competing at a higher level, and that's hard. So I think it's good that they switched it up, but it's probably a money thing, just saving money, why they don't have them throughout the entire system. When Japanese guys or any non-MLB guys throw sessions for teams, which balls do they use? I would imagine they probably use the MLB balls. You got to get used to them as quickly as possible. It's not that they can't afford them, Uncle Ted. It's just like when you think about the sheer volume of baseballs required to get through a season, I mean, you're talking thousands of balls. Even if they're a 50 cents difference each ball, that's going to add up to tens of thousands of dollars at the end of the year. And teams will cut costs where they can. That would be the league will cut costs where they can. That would be my thought on that. If Cubs can get Horton, Cabrera, and Steele October healthy and effective, are they the biggest threat to take down the Dodgers in the NL? I don't believe so. I think they're a good team. Again, though, I think the high-end pitching, even with Steele, Cabrera, and Horton, to me, they're still lacking that I will shut you down type of guy with consistency. I think they're a good team. They'll be a threat, but I still think whoever comes out of the NL East is going to be stronger than them. So whether that's the Mets or the Phillies or the Braves, I would expect those teams to be a little stronger than the Cubs come postseason time, whichever team wins the gauntlet of the NL East. So I wouldn't quite put them that high, but I think they're pretty good. Must have really bothered guys doing a rehab stint, having the balls changed up on them. That's not how it works. Major league guy goes down to even a ball, he uses major league balls. They switch out the balls for the pitcher that's in the game. So it doesn't bug them having the ball switched. It's probably a bugs everybody else that this guy's using a big league ball. And actually what's funny is a lot of the hitters would be excited. Ooh, I get to hit a big league ball because they travel further. So that's kind of how that works. That's a little bit of a little bit of nuance there. What else we got here? Riley Green had begun using pitch sequences from each at-bat to chart pitch types to be expected and when. Talked about it. Well, anything you can try to do to stand out or be a little better, you should. That's what you do in big leagues. So we'll see if he can be a little more anticipatory and if he can be right with all the data he's gathering on himself. Flat seams are a little easier on the fingers, or at least for me, they don't shred you as bad. Agreed. But they still get you. I mean, you can look at my finger here. I got a little thing on the side of it from throwing major league balls. But obviously those minor league balls that are bigger and more hard, that's going to hurt you. So not great. NL East Phillies once again, or Braves make a comeback. I mean, I have to say I'm starting to feel down on the Braves because of all the starting pitching issues. I usually don't doubt the Braves, but I think it's a Mets-Phillies NL East this year again. So we'll see. But means they're facing an MLB pitcher, so probably won't travel further. What's funny about this is MLB pitchers get blasted on rehab starts. I've seen it time and time again. This is one last story I'll tell before I say goodbye today. I'll never forget, Cardinal spring training ended. I want to say this was 2009 or 10. Kyle Loesch was the 5th starter for the Cardinals, so he did not break with the team because he was going to stay back and throw. They didn't need a 5th starter first time through the rotation. He would then go join the team in Miami when they went on their first road trip a couple days in, so he stayed behind to throw to the minor league side and minor league hitters from another team, and I watched this man go out there and pitch 2 innings, give up 12 runs against the minor league side. And this was very common for big leaguers on rehab stints. Pretty much throughout my entire time in pro ball, they would get blasted by these minor league guys, and I said, man, that is not what you want headed back to the big leagues. Like, if you're getting blasted by A-ball guys, how's that going to equate? And guess what he did? He went up there, and his first start, I believe it's the first game in the Miami Stadium, he went like 8 no-hit innings in the big leagues. So I think it's just one of those things, like, you don't know any information on the hitters. Those hitters are chomping at the bit to see how they stack up against big leaguers. Maybe your focus, your adrenaline's not quite there. But for whatever reason, I've seen big league guys get blasted in the minors. So keep that in mind when you see your big league guy get blasted in the minors. Not a big deal, but it definitely happens all the time. All right, so that's it for me today. This is probably the answer. Kind of don't care about the results as much. But anyway, that's it for today. That was the NL Central. Thanks for the people who hung with me today. A little bit of a shorter, smaller group today, but it's all good. We'll have some baseball to watch pretty soon. So that's exciting. Today's day 1 of that. If you're in the New York area, catch me on Yankees Hot Stove tonight at 7. And I'll be back on Monday with the AL Central. And then we'll spend the last 2 days of next week getting into the East teams, the East divisions, AL East, NL East. Those would probably be the most exciting ones because those are going to be gauntlets. And then we're off to Arizona to get ready for the WBC. So thanks so much for hanging with me today. Appreciate you guys as always. And I will see you guys on Monday. Have a great one. Hasta.